Let's talk about becoming an ethical hacker. You can feel like you're staring up at this massive, intimidating mountain, right? Well, today, we're handing you the map for that climb. Let's get into it. So, have you ever wondered about this? How do you flip the script and go from that image of some shadowy figure to being one of the good guys? How do you use those incredible skills to protect things instead of breaking them? That's what this is all about.
And here it is, the absolute most important part. See those two words? Legally and with authorization. That is the big, bright line in the sand. You're basically getting paid to think like a bad guy and find the weak spots before they do, but you have a signed contract and the keys to the front door.
So think of this as your personal roadmap. We're going to break this whole journey down, piece by piece, starting at base camp and climbing all the way to the summit.
Every big climb starts at base camp. You wouldn't climb a mountain without the right gear, right? Well, in our world, that gear is foundational knowledge. And trust me, trying to skip this part is like trying to climb Everest in flip-flops. It's just not going to end well.
So, what's in our pack? 3 things, 3 non-negotiable things. First, you have to get how computers actually think. You know, the guts, the hardware. Second, operating systems. You need to be fluent, especially in Linux, because that's where most of the security tools live. And third, networking. This one is huge, because that's the playground where all the action happens.
When we talk about networking, this is what we mean. This is the digital highway system. Every little piece of information, every data packet is a car on these roads. You have to understand the traffic laws like TCP/IP and the addresses like DNS. Once you know how the roads are laid out, you can start finding the back alleys and the unlocked doors.
And this is exactly why we're hammering on this point so hard. It's not an exaggeration. The network is the front line. It's where almost everything goes down. If you don't get how it works, you're basically flying blind.
Okay, so we've packed our gear at base camp. Our foundation is solid. Now, the real climb begins. This is where we learn the actual techniques and tools that make a hacker a hacker.
Now hold on, don't panic when you see languages. You don't need to be some master coder. The goal here is just to be able to read scripts, tweak them, and write your own simple ones to automate the boring stuff. And Python? Oh man, Python is your best friend. It's like the Swiss Army knife for hackers. You can do almost anything with it.
You know, to break security, you first have to understand how it's supposed to work. It's as simple as this. Authentication is just, who are you? That's you showing your ID. Authorization is, okay, now that you're in, what can you do? That's what doors your keycard opens. You would be absolutely shocked how many attacks boil down to exploiting a flaw in one of these 2 simple ideas.
If you're going to focus your energy on one area to start, make it this one. Just think about it. Your bank, your email, your social media. Pretty much everything we use all day is a web application, and that makes them a gigantic target.
So where do you start with web apps? You start with the OWASP Top 10. Think of it as the FBI's most wanted list, but for website vulnerabilities. You've got things like SQL injection, where you trick a database into spilling its secrets, or cross-site scripting, where you plant a little trap for other users. Mastering this list is crucial.
And to hunt for those vulnerabilities, you need the right tools. 2 of the absolute must-knows are Burp Suite and OWASP Zap. The best way to think about them is like a special pair of X-ray glasses for the internet. They let you see all the invisible traffic flying back and forth between your computer and a website, and even lets you mess with it. They're essential. So we've covered the concepts, the theory, the tools, but now we've reached what is, without a doubt, the single most important part of this entire climb. This is what separates the people who talk about hacking from the people who actually do it.
Because look, you can read every book on the shelf. You can watch every tutorial online. You can know the theory backward and forward. But if you don't actually put your hands on the keyboard and do it, none of it matters.
Seriously, let that one sink in. If you take only one thing away today, let it be this. Hacking is a hands-on skill. It's like learning a martial art or playing an instrument. You can't just read about it, you get better by doing. Period. So where do you practice? You need a gym, a digital gym. Platforms like TryHackMe are fantastic for beginners. They really guide you. Then you can move up to something like Hack the Box for more of a real-world challenge. And the ultimate playground? Building your own lab at home. It's a safe, legal sandbox where you can break things to your heart's content.
Okay, so you've done the work, you've practiced like crazy, and you've made it to the top. What happens now? What does life after the summit actually look like? Well, for one, certifications. Think of these as your trophies. They prove you know your stuff. You can start with something conceptual like the CEH, but eventually you want to aim for the really tough, hands-on ones, like the legendary OSCP. Passing a cert like that tells the world you're the real deal.
And remember, hacker isn't just one job. You could be a penetration tester, that's what most people think of. Or maybe a red team engineer, simulating a full-scale cyber attack. You could even be a freelance bug bounty hunter, getting paid by companies for every vulnerability you find. There are so many cool paths to take.
So, how long does this all take? This timeline makes it feel a lot more manageable. You can get a solid foundation in just a few months, and with dedicated effort, in about a year or so, you could be tackling advanced stuff and choosing a specialty. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So as we wrap this up, let's leave you with 4 key takeaways. 1. Get networking and Linux down cold. They're the bedrock of everything. 2. Practice every day. Consistency is king. 3. Don't just learn to click buttons on a tool. Understand why it works. And 4. Write it down. Documenting your process will make you better and eventually become your resume.
So there you have it. We've laid out the map, from the very first step at base camp to life beyond the summit.